Shalom, 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 shalom. First and foremost, giving infinite praises, glory, and honor unto Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushua, Ba'ashem, L'chakwadash, giving double honors to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone and Shalom, and salutation to all you sensei Akim across the four winds, pushing his truth with sincerity of heart. I'm your fellow servant, Kasama Gan from the DC camp, coming at you through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushua, Ba'ashem, L'chakwadash, to feed the elect. Now, in this lesson, we're going to go into basically a topic that kind of came out of IUIC. I mean, there's a lot going on with IUIC, man. There's a lot of, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua, is really setting a light on this particular camp, which we understand why. As we inching closer and closer to all hell breaking loose, the Lord is making sure that the false prophets and are being exposed as far as like the things that they're doing behind closed doors, the doctrine that they push, man-made customs, which those man-made customs are primarily Babylonian customs, mixed in with being a Hebrew Israelite. As you see right here, this is a post. This is actually dated 2022, but it kind of goes on with what's being said right now in IUIC, in regards to Hebrew Israelite men dealing with one woman, so, you have to understand, unfortunately, in the nation of Israel has always had what you would call today, male feminists. As you already know, feminism is like a cancer, right? It's an abomination, that goes all the way back to the Garden of Eden. I mean, it's so bad, even the regular, normal individuals that are not spiritual, when they talk about feminism, they're all, even the ones that don't believe in the scriptures, they all referred to the Garden of Eden and how Eve was basically being hypergamous and out of order, and basically going for the trap of feminism, which eventually destroyed Adam and the wealth and so on and so forth, and brought about death. Now in IUIC, which they're coming in the spirit of Jesus Christ, which that spirit, that Christian spirit, is about imposing monogamy. All right, it's about imposing monogamy. As you see in this post, it says real men, in all caps, real men have one wife, not thoughts or side pieces. Now, first and foremost, at this point in 2025, you have to understand, every time you hear the word real man do this or real men do that, that's feminist. That's a feminist statement. That's why a lot of times you'll notice when women want to play Jedi mind tricks on you, they use shaman tactics. Instead, they use words like real men. See, a real man would do this for me, right? Which it's all about men serving women. So think about it. Anytime a woman will use the word real man, what comes after that is an act of servitude. All right. And some of these women out here, well, not some, a lot of these women, when they tell you about that shit about love language, well, they're like, well, my love language is act of service and gift, because they all feminists. All right. They all have that cancer in their mind. So in Israel, we supposed to be against feminism. So although this post was most likely posted by this Israelite right here, you have to understand the reason why he posted it with a feminist mindset. That's why these guys are male feminists. So you can't be a man of the Lord and be a male feminist. All right? Because feminism is an abomination. So even you look at the comment right here, right? It says, even a lot of Jakes was, giving some pushbacks on his nonsense, right? Real men keep the commandments. What commandment says what you're saying, right? Because he said real men have one wife. What is that? That's you basically imposing monogamy. Now, you could decide to be a monogamous if you want to, but monogamy is not imposed in Israel. All right, Israel, the nation of Israel, was set up to primarily have polygamy. All right, now, whether you decided in the ancient times to be monogamous, a lot of time it had to do with the amount of wealth that you had, because if you were poor, you couldn't afford to have more than one wife. But it all came down to your status. All right. But when you saying stuff like this as a man, you know, it's because you got feminism in you. You're a male feminist, meaning you are in the spirit of Babylon, the spirit of Edom, Esau, the devil that the Bible speaks of. Because outside of the West, every nation across the four winds are fully entrenched into polygamy, and you know, it's been that way since the beginning. All right, until Esau came in and mandated monogamy, which a lot of it had to do with, you know, it was all about the politics. It was all about the economy. It was all about taxation. You know, that's really what it was. The whole feminist movement and all that was about, and destroying families. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, even in the comment boards, you would see like pushbacks. Oh, let me see this. It says, look, Israel Marlowe. It says, show me in scriptures where it commands men to only have one wife. See, a lot of jakes is starting to, you know, understand that, hey, you don't mandate, you know, the Lord didn't mandate monogamy. And you know, because then the man will use the feminine tactics of using all cap real men. Well, see, although the scriptures don't mandate monogamy, real men are monogamous. See that's the spirit of Satan, this, you know, the spirit of feminism. All right, but they just as, you know, Israelites and all that. But like it's just all a show. So you have to be aware of these on, you know, the spirit of male feminists, because they're the biggest issue. The biggest, I'm going to show you in the scriptures, the biggest problem is really not the Israelite women. Now the Israelite woman is, you know, she's you know, she's in a, you know, she's in a messed up state where, you know, for the most part, beginning with the so-called black women, you know, you shouldn't really be too attached to them because they're in a messed up state. But women really just do whatever men allow them to do. So the reason why the women are what they messed up, is because the men are also messed up. You know, there's no leadership. Men are not leaders. They look up to their women. They have a council with their women when they want to make decisions. You know, like, come on, man. So you see that. Now, this is where the whole one wife thing, of course, comes from. You know, we've already bought this out, but we're going to continue to do it because there's always new believers that come into the gospel. And a lot of men were bred to be beta. They were bred to be male feminists. But now the tide is turning. The spirit is shifted primarily with the elect of Yahweh Shem Shah. We clearly understand what's going on, the trickery, the social engineering of Edom Esau. 1 Timothy chapter 3, verse 1, it says overseers and deacons. So clearly this is talking about a specific rank, I would say, position in the church. This is a true saying. If a man desire the office of a bishop, he desireth a good work. A bishop then must be blameless, the husband of one wife. See that? Vigilant, sober, of good behavior, given to hospitality, apt to teach. The reason why, you know, the scripture says it's preferable that he, you know, that he becomes a husband of one wife, is because he has to take care of the congregation. All right. So in a sense, he's not only taking care of his household, but he's also, you know, has to show the same love and attachment to the church that he does to, you know, to his wife. Meaning he has to attend to the issues of the church and make sure everything is in order. And if he has multiple wives, meaning multiple distractions, it's going to be hard. You know, he's going to be burnt out, and he won't have enough juice to deal with the issues of the church and the congregation. All right. That's the reason why Paul told Timothy, you know, to write this down, that this is what should happen, to bring about a focus. You know, but that's not mandate. It's not mandated in Israel to be monogamous, because not every Israelite is a bishop or overseer. All right. But of course, if you are in the spirit of feminism, or a male feminist disguising yourself as a true man of the Lord, yeah, you Hebrew Israelite by nature, but spiritually you're not connected. All right. So this is the biggest problem. Right? That smiling black woman on the side, that feminist Israelite woman on the right-hand side, she's not the biggest problem. The biggest issue is that big old overgrown male feminist, right? That woman worshiper, you know? And the guys, that's why they always get sensitive. Like you'll talk about women You'll talk about the Israelite man going off 99% of the time. 99% of your videos or lessons will be about Israelite men having, getting their shit together, the elect, so and just going so on and so forth. But then the minute you make one lesson about the Aquaf, the sisters, and you see dudes in the comment board just offended. And you like, well, that's a male feminist. Man, listen, you can call all your how about shot this. The minute I see, because I can sense the traits of a male feminist, and all of us had to kind of purge ourselves, and there's still brothers that need to continue to purge themselves from the male feminists, because you'll hear some talking points, and I'm like, I know you don't even notice that what you're saying, it's feminist talking points, but I understand the brainwashing is so deep. Say that we all have to continue to purge ourselves from feminism, man. I mean, it's real. Now, check this out. This is the effect of monogamy on men. All right, it says monogamy can have both positive and negative effects on men, potentially leading to increased relationship satisfaction and stability. I don't know about all that, because you see monogamy is failing. Look at the marriage status, the adultery and so on. So you already know that's not working. And not to say monogamy doesn't work. It's just that that's not the lifestyle, the primary lifestyle that the Heavenly Father, Yahweh Shemashah, set up for men, and, primarily in the men of Israel. All right. And I always say there's a reason why it's not only one tribe of Israel, which is Judah, it's 12 tribes. The Heavenly Father always believes in having a multitude. All right, showing love to a multitude, not just one person. All right, and only the masculine gets to show love to a multitude, of the feminine. It's not the other way around. It's not the feminine doesn't get to choose to show love to a multitude of masculine energy. Only the masculine energy could do that. And how do you know? A lot of women, you'll see a woman, a whore, deal with like 3 or 4 dudes, right? But then eventually what will happen over time, she'll start to cut down all the way down to one. All right. As she ages and she wants to quote unquote settle down, she'll go from 5 dudes all the way down to one guy that she'll pick. But as a man, what you usually notice is the man would keep adding, if he can afford the lifestyle, he would keep adding, to the tribe, basically. All right. It says, reduce competition for mates, greater parental investment, but also possibly leading to feelings of confinement and stifling, right? Living with your woman every day, all day. Yeah, confinement and stifling, and even potential health issues like erectile dysfunction or depression. All right. But yeah, definitely erectile dysfunction is at its highest amongst married men. You can look these things up. And if you think I'm making this up, just look it up. There's statistics out there about, sexless marriages, which that happens in monogamous relationships. I met a lot of men that had gone 5 years without, having sex with their wives. And I'm like, dude, how in the world are you? Why? And then the dude was always depressed. None of them were happy. You know what I'm saying? So these are the things that happen. You know what I'm saying? And I've been I would call it a decently long, term relationship with one woman. And although, I ain't gonna go into detail, but that whole using sex as a tool of control, I've experienced that. So like I stated before, I don't talk about things that I haven't experienced, because how you gonna teach others if you haven't been through stuff? You know what I'm saying? That's just how it goes in this gospel. So erectile dysfunction, which, man, listen, I ain't gonna go into detail with that, man. But brothers that, have been in monogamous relationships, certain things starting to malfunction. And then the minute, you do things on the side, you back to being prolific. There's a reason why. You don't need no damn, you do somehow. They're talking about pills and all these different things that come up about ED. And I'm like, dude, just add to your options. You'll be surprised, You'll be surprised, Now, let's look at they talking about potential benefits and all that. You reduce the risk of STDs, which, hey, man, listen, wives out here committing adultery. that the drawbacks, feeling stifled, confined, ED, and depression, reduced sexual frequency and enjoyment, struggles with commitment, societal, so you got that. So yeah, man. Again, not to say that, if you want to be in a monogamous relationship, that's cool, man, but that's not mandated. When you started mandating, talking about if you're not a real man if you have one woman. I'm like, that's feminist talking points. That's a woman controlling your mind to say this. Now, this is I'm gonna shout out, of course, the rational man. If you know, you know. I mean, I think he's part of one of the OG red pill dudes in the tube. Fair use. I'm not gonna play all of it, just a small part done with the order, because when women being out of order is something that even dudes that are not spiritual in this world are able to see that, and they are able to go into the scriptures. So we're gonna play this right quick. His name is, I think it's Rolo Tomasi. You know what I'm saying? So he brought up something that was like crazy. He put this up, and I give him credit, because he's not spiritual, but he can see the things that's going on, right? He studies the relationship, dating aspects and relationship between men and women and modern day dating, right? So let's check this out.
You want Bible study? We can do Bible study real quick. Here's Bible study. These were I know people have been recirculating these. I did these illustrations. These are illustrations that I never put in. I was going to, but I didn't have the right place to put them in my fourth book called Religion. Okay. So this is the biblical order of the family. Okay. Christ, the husband, and then what's the husband's duties? Protect the family, lead the family, and provide for the family. Right. Then you have the wife that's beneath the husband, an umbrella of the husband. There's a reason why this is an umbrella, right? Because it's like, who's protecting who? Right? Wife, comfort, teach, nurture. And then the children are underneath that. Love their parents and obey their parents. And then below that is puppy dogs. I couldn't squeeze that on. So this is the sort of the biblical model. And this is the new model, which is Christ, quote unquote.
Yo, look at, and Slacky, I gotta stop it, because of course, fair use. I don't. This is for educational purposes. I don't want to copyright. Again, like I said, the Rational Bell. He has a dope channel and all that. Like I said, it's good to listen to him. Because you need to learn. You have to understand, man. Like, for the longest, and I was talking to one of the elder brothers about it. For the longest, men, one of the things that men have struggled with for the longest since the beginning is understanding, women, female nature. A lot of men, not all, certain men throughout history, only a few men have understood, female nature, but the majority of men were completely lost in the sauce. I mean, the greatest of us, in the ancient, like Solomon, these men struggle, right? Men have always struggled, with women, because men didn't either understand female nature or accept it and acknowledge it for what it is, right? But we living in the end time. This is the end, the quintessential end of the world. So what happens in the end of the world? Everything gets revealed. Every single thing that's been hidden, every single thing that was hard to understand, that was secret, everything is being exposed, all right? So this is the time where we know all things. Like the scripture said, we know all things. So when the beginning with the apostles, on down, when the spirit of Yahweh Bashim Ashar constantly says focus on the scriptures, focus on the kingdom of heaven, don't focus on these women and all that, it's because, the Lord always, knew the nature, but it was for us to eventually at the end, understand it perfectly. I mean, the way he put this was unbelievable. Now, this is the male feminist thing. All right, look at this, but look at this order, because this is exactly what's going on in Babylon right now, aka the United States, and really the world. For the most part, you have the Amashiach at the top, and then you have gynocentrism. Where gynocentrism goes back. A gynocentric society, meaning a society that's tailored, tailored towards the feminine, towards women. It protects women from the courts and so on. Brothers know courts, family court, criminal court. You commit murder, you get 25 to life. You commit first degree murder, you get 25 to life. She commits first degree murder, she might get 5, a potential 5 to 10 with potential parole. She acts straight. So you see what's going on in society, right? So that's called gynocentrism, meaning setting up women above men. So that you have Duluth model feminism. And as we know, feminism is a cancer that destroys nations. Then right under, the Mashiach, you got the wife. All right. You got the wife. Protect the family, comfort, lead the family. Nurture, provide for family, lead a family. A lot of dudes believe that they're leading their household, a lot of Israelites, but then they can't make a decision unless they take counsel with their wives. Right? And they have another male feminist term like, oh, I got to talk to my better half. Shit like that, Oh, I'm in the doghouse. You know what I'm saying? Oh, I gotta run it past. I gotta run it past my old lady. So those are the type of stuff that when you hear that, like, okay, that's a man that's totally controlled by a woman. And like I said, these men are gonna do that. A lot of men are waking up to this. But as a man of the Lord and His truth, these are things that you cannot do, because that means you although you call upon Yahweh by Shem Shah, you really under the spirit of the Queen of Heaven. You're a male feminist. You're a undercover male feminist, and you're not even aware of this shit. Now, after the wife is children, it says, love mother, which, the children are made to love the mother, shield the mother from accountability, obey mother, right? So you notice, mama could do no wrong. Tupac, he had a song about that, right? Talked about how his mom was a queen, although she was a dope fiend, she was always a queen. No accountability. Tupac's mother was doing some fucked up shit, but all the blame was put on Tupac's father, right? So, and this is something that you see in the so-called community, beginning with the tribe of Judah, so-called African American on down. So you never blame the mother, which that's a part of feminism, right? That cancer. And then at the very bottom, you got the man, which is the slave. All right. Why is he a slave? It says assume all responsibility, generate resources, right? So all responsibility with no authority. That's a well-known saying. If you have to assume all the responsibility of people's actions, but you don't have authority over them, that makes you a slave. That's actually what slavery is. It's responsibility without authority. So if your woman, you can't tell your woman what to do, but when she goes out there and fucks up, you got to come up and clean the mess. That's basically mental slavery. All right, so yeah, man, this I like this chart, man. The dude Rolo, he's not even a man of God, but he could tell. All right.
That in scare quotes for a reason. Gynocentrism, teach. Duluth model of feminism. Because that's where all this comes from, right? Then there's the wife who protects the family, comforts the family, leads the family, nurtures the family, and provides for the family. And then there are the children, their duty is to love the mother, shield the mother from accountability, and obey the mother. And then beneath all of that is the husband. Assume all responsibility and generate resources. So, daddy the wallet. And this is really what we're seeing right now, as far as the way things are laid out. People have asked me about these things, and that actually those are my illustrations. So whenever you see somebody else using them, I just never put them in the.
Yeah, man. So like you said, those are his. Hey, we give him credit for that. I mean, although, like I said, we knew, we already listened. We've been knowing about this in the spirit. The Bible always spoke about these things that these guys, red pill community and all that. Like it was in the scriptures. It wasn't as overtly detailed, but when you reread the scriptures, you go back into these stories, you can see clearly what was going on. And I'm gonna give you an example of before that, actually, let's get the precept of the order. This is 1 Corinthians 11. It says Christian order. It says, be ye followers of me, even as I am also of Hamashiach. Now I praise you, brethren, that ye remember me in all things and keep the ordinance as I delivered them to you. All right. But I will have you know that the head of every man is Hamashiach, and the head of the woman is the man. So whoa. Yeah. So like, I don't know what's Satan. The head of the woman is the man, right? And the head of Hamashiach is the Most High. And the reason why Paul was saying this to the Corinthians, because a lot of the Hebrew Israelites in Corinth were male feminists. All right, they were undercover male feminists. They would allow women to speak at the church, to be loud and to be boisterous and all that other stuff. So again, the issue is you have men that want order and know that you have to put women in their place. But the problem is you have men on the other side that are always throughout history that always come against you for setting up women in their place in their order, right? So they have this certain spirit, like this weakness, right, towards women. They got their woman worship that's called Queen of Heaven, and those are the men that are always, they're the main reason why you can't set up order in a church in a so-called community, because the women would get down with who's laying down the law. But when you lay down the law and then you have other men that are bucking against that and willing to kill you, right? Willing to go to jail, willing to die and kill you just to establish female dominance and so on. Like that's where you have problems, right? That's where we had problems. Like we can't get down at Great Millstone. We can't get down with those guys because, dudes gonna have their women out of order. Like you got dudes that his woman would talk crazy to the brother, and then he ain't gonna check her, bro. Like, come on, man. Because as a man, you're not gonna want to check a brother's wife. Like, brother, you gotta check your own woman. You know what I'm saying? You can't. And of course, that when she do that, man, hey, listen, you can't be a brother of mine. You know what I'm saying? If you can't check your woman, man, you can't be a brother of mine, for real, man. Because that weakness is dangerous, man. One of the most dangerous things in the world is a man that's weak to women. That's a dangerous man, bro. You cannot be around an individual like that. Yeah, but so like let's go to the male feminists in the scriptures in the ancient text, in the Old Testament. This is Jeremiah 44:13. Because these male feminists, these dudes tried several times. Read Jeremiah the 7th chapter and Jeremiah 44. These dudes was trying to kill Jeremiah. These male feminist Israelites were trying to kill Jeremiah for him calling them and their wives out, right, for committing idolatry. All right, so check this out. This is Jeremiah 44:13. It says, "For I will punish them that dwell in the land of Egypt, as I have punished Jerusalem by the sword, by the famine, and by the pestilence." All right. "So that none of the remnant of Judah, which are gone into the land of Egypt to sojourn there, shall escape or remain, that they should return into the land of Judah, to the which they have a desire to return to dwell there. For none shall return but such as shall escape." Verse 15. "Then all the men which knew that their wives had burned incense unto other gods, and all the women that stood by, a great multitude, even all the people that dwelt in the land of Egypt and Pathros, answered Jeremiah, saying, As for the word that thou hast spoken unto us in the name of the Lord Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua, we will not hearken unto thee. But we will certainly do whatsoever thing goeth forth out of our own mouth, to burn incense to the Queen of Heaven, and to pour out drink offering unto her, as we have done, we and our fathers, our kings and our princes, in the cities of Judah and in the streets of Jerusalem. For then had we plenty of victuals, and were well and saw no evil." All right. So this is that's right then and there. Male feminists is dudes like this. That's why a man would say, a real man, real men, all caps, which women do that, by the way. That all cap shit, that's a feminine thing. Women do that. It's like, oh, look at me, attention. It's like attention, all caps. Real men have one wife, not thoughts and side pieces. So he wrote this, but he wrote this with the spirit of a woman. All right, he's a male feminist. But then he'll say that the Lord is dealing with him. But mind you, he's coming in the spirit of Jesus Christ. And Jesus is the spirit of Jesus is like a feminine, soft, male feminist, homo, monogamous, spirit. So you understand, this ain't just talk. This happened in the scriptures. And it's happening right now. Dude's trying to shame you into not having multiple wives. Why? Because the women don't want that. You know why the women don't want that? Because the women don't want to compete. All right, and there's this thing called competition anxiety. We always talk to brothers about it. Competition anxiety. That's why polygamy makes women act right. All right, this is competition anxiety. It says dating anxiety often stemming from fear of rejection or performance pressure can manifest as nervousness and uneasiness during dating situations, impacting relationships and overall well-being. Now, it says, what is competition anxiety in relationships? But seeing other women express interest in him tends to trigger competition anxiety. Countless men have confirmed a little dose of this jealousy can lead to some incredible sex. I can attest to this, by the way. That's why I'm a firm believer in polygamy and, competition anxiety. I mean, that's the best thing that you could do. It says, as a woman suddenly feels like she might lose her man and needs to work to keep him interested. All right. So, yeah, competition, they don't want to compete, man, because our women believe that they're better than us. They're in the spirit of feminism. You know what I'm saying? So they're not trying to compete. You know what I'm saying? And on top of that, they know that the Israelite man is a conquered man. They always talk about it, right? Especially the ones who's not in the truth, right? The black women that have their pure hatred exposed online, they say, yeah, the black man, the so-called black man, is a conquered man, which is true. We've been conquered by Edom, Esau, the devil that the Bible speaks of. But shouldn't you be our women? Shouldn't you be fighting with us? But instead, you sold us out. You destroyed the family, feminism, all, But then the worst part, the men became male feminists. All right. But yeah, the woman looks at us like, yeah, we slaves, man. I don't have to compete for you. But if you're a man of the Lord, you focus on this truth, and finishing this race. Be patient. Our turn is gonna come, bro. It's just like that. All right. Now this is 1 Corinthians 7:32. It says, "But I will have you without carefulness. He that is unmarried careth for the things that belong to the Lord, how he may please the Lord." All right. So normally brothers that are what's the word? What's the word I'm looking for, man? It's bachelors. There you go. Because I'm one of them for sure. Brothers that are bachelor or eligible bachelors, they usually, you will notice, unless they on some wild shit and they wicked, they usually do well as far as like just the focus. And again, it's not all. There's no such thing as all, but you do just focus a lot more, right? You do have brothers that have women, they also put in the work. So it's not that you have to leave your woman, but it's just this is what the scripture says. But he that is married careth for the things that are off the world, how he may please his wife. Now, you have brothers that have wives, but guess what? Because they're highly spiritual and they care about the church more than they care about their wives, guess what happened? They suffer in the flesh, right? Like there's always a conflict because the man, although he has a wife, he's focused on Yahweh Hashem Shai in the church. So therefore, either his woman gonna be a problem, it's gonna be something, it's gonna be problems related with his woman that's constantly gonna creep up. You know what I'm saying? And it is what it is, right? It all comes down to your journey and how you focus. As long as you focus on the church, ultimately you're gonna be all right. All right. So it's the dynamic, it's not the same for everybody. But when you try and please your wife, yeah, you start saying shit like IURC is saying. Now, this is 2 Samuel 12. I'm going to the point. Let me see. Hey, man, I had it. Because this is, I want to get to the point where basically Solomon, the Lord, because the Lord was angry at the fact that David committed adultery. So let me see. Dang, no, I had it here, man. Come on, bro. No. Salaki, just bear with me right quick. Mm, hmm. Damn. Oh, okay, there you go. Second Samuel 12:9. It says, "Wherefore hast thou despised the commandment of the Lord?" Right. This is Nathan calling out David to do evil in his sight. Thou hast killed Uriah the Hittite with the sword, and has taken his wife to be thy wife, and has slain him with the sword of the children of Ammon. Now therefore the sword shall never depart from thy house, because thou hast despised me, and hast taken a wife of Uriah the Hittite to be thy wife. Thus saith the Lord, behold, I will raise up evil against thee and thy house, and I will take thy wives. Damn, man, I don't know why. That's good. Oh, there you go. 2 Samuel 12:8. And I gave thee thy master's house, and thy wife, and thy master's wives into thy bosom, and gave thee the house of Israel and of Judah. And if that had been too little, I would moreover have given thee such and such things. So right there, the Lord said, I gave you wives, man. And he said, I would have given, if it was a matter of women, I would have given you more women. Right? So the Lord was like, come on, man, I gave you multiple women. I could have given you more. But, you fucked up, and you went out there and went with somebody else's woman. You know what I'm saying? So although it was destiny, but still David had to be judged for that particular action. But the point is, the Lord said, I gave you wives, not just one wife. I gave you wives, and I would have given you more wives. So it shows you right there, the Lord is always, polygamy is a part of Israel. Whether the women like it, believe it or not, it doesn't matter. All right, women get to not our Israelite women get to be against it now because Esau is in rulership. But when the tide turns and Esau falls and crumbles, and we get set up, through Yahweh Shai, and the spirit is changing, all that, the women they're gonna get in line. Women have always done that. All right, they always go with the winner. They change their minds and their customs to acquiesce with the new winner. So that's why, we just got to be patient and focus on this fight, man. I don't worry about what they say, what they agree, and what they disagree with. It doesn't matter, because they're always going to agree with the winner, whether the winner is righteous or wicked. I mean, that's just the reality of life and war, man. All right, that's why the Lord said he's a man of war. So you must understand warfare and the effects of warfare on the people, men and women. Now, let's conclude with this: competition anxiety, polygamy. All right, which that's when you get the best of you get the best out of women when they're competing for you. I know it. I've been through it. I've experienced it. If you've been through it, you know what I'm talking about. But when you're the one chasing and trying to, make her happy, man, that is just, yeah, man, that's death. That's a waste of time, and you will not be treated well, man. This is Isaiah 4:1. It says, "In that day, so few men will be left that 7 women will fight for each man." That's competition anxiety. Saying, let us all marry you. We will provide our own food and clothing. Only let us take your name so we won't be mocked as old maids. All right. And this when you get the best out of women, where they fight for you, man. They compete. But these women don't want to compete because they're in the spirit of feminism. And then you got male feminists that are backing them up, thinking that they're going to find happiness. And all that's at the end of that is adultery, is unhappiness, and what we see right here today, right? Less than half of the population is married. I mean, the statistics show that this thing is over. Babylon's run is over. The society's collapsing politically, mentally, morally. Everything is falling apart. Everybody's divided. You know what I'm saying? Why? Because Babylon the Great is at the end of his road. So now the hopeful elect have to awaken, right? The men of Israel have to awaken, be focused, be faithful, right? And prepare for, the ramification of Babylon falling, because there's going to be ramification for the king. The king losing his crown is going to come with ramifications, but Yahweh Shai is going to protect his elect, all right? So we believe in that. So that's basically the end of this lesson. Hopefully you were edified through the spirit and power of Yahweh by Shemel Shai. But yeah, man, this is a plague in Israel, man. Male feminists, And now they're showing their grill in all these different camps. And brothers have to be aware of that male feminist spirit, because we were all bred and raised to be male feminists. So we got to be purged from that spirit. All right, so we can grow closer and closer to our manhood and to our power, Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua. So with that, I'm going to say, Kal Halam La Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua Ba'Shem Uchakwadash. Give a double honor to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Shalom and salutation to all you sincere Akim across the four winds, pushing this truth with sincerity of heart. Because I'm a guy from the DC camp. Shalom.